In this video, I'd like to discuss two properties I've mentioned before. Both of them are in a build Gradle file. One of them called enable separate builds per CPU architecture, and the second one is enable Proguard in release builds. First, let's check what Proguard is and what it does. So in the last video I've built APK. Let's go ahead and open it in Android Studio. There is an option for APK inspector. And let's take a look what we see inside. Essentially, the APK, or it can be also a bundle, is a collection of files that needed to run the application. To analyze APK or a bundle in Android Studio, we need to open Android Studio, choose option on top, which is called Build, and then Analyze APK. And once I select the APK file, I can see what's inside. I can see the basic information such as the size of the APK, the version of the APK. By the way, the version of the application is also being set in the Gradle. There are two properties called version code and version name. Version name is what customer or user sees, and version code is how Google Play differentiates between the builds. Inside the Open APK, I can see my index Android bundle, which is our JavaScript code, resources, which are the icons, and classes dex, which is essentially Java code. The point I'm trying to make with this presentation is that anyone can open unsecured or unprotected APK and see what's inside. By the way, APK also can be pulled from the device and opened in Android Studio the same way. To protect the application from someone stealing the code, there is something called Proguard that essentially shrinks and obfuscates the code. To turn Proguard on, I need to set variable enable Proguard in release builds to true in my build Gradle file. Then I'm going to make a build with the Proguard on, and let's take a look how it looks in App Analyzer. By the way, the build when Proguard is on takes a little bit longer. Alright, it looks like build is ready. Now I'm gonna go ahead and open it in APK Analyzer in Android Studio. And when I open this new APK, on the first look everything is the same. However, when I open classes dex, now I see the letters such as A, B, D, and so forth. What happens is Proguard creates a map. It renames class's name to something else. And that makes it next to impossible to really see what is happening with the application. And the same is happening with the index bundle that I showed earlier in assets. But Proguard is just the first step. There are other services that literally encrypt this application guts, and then it's completely impossible to open and see what's inside. Because Proguard messes with classes names, and especially if third-party libraries are being used, some configuration may need to be added with a special file called Proguard rules. Another problem that needs to be addressed with React Native configuration is that React Native adds a lot of overhead. And the application, which in native code would take, let's say, 3 megabytes, may take 30 with React Native. The way to mitigate it is to use another property, which is called enable separate builds per CPU architecture. Again, we just need to flip this variable to true. And in this case, the application will be split, and each piece will be built for specific CPU architecture. And now, let me rebuild the APK when that variable is set to true. After build has completed, I can see that there are 4 APKs available. And the CPU architectures are in the names of those APKs. There is also an additional property that can be set to true that will build the full application in addition to those split APKs. So that is something to keep in mind when making a release build.